again, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Ravi. Timekeeper should start in another 5 minutes. This morning, our topic is going to be organizational ambidexterity and firm performance. An examination of the role of the owner, manager, and employees. And the outline will be, we'll take a look at the research problem, followed by the purpose of the study. A number of research questions will then be looked at. We'll go through the literature review, identify the gap in the literature, look at our conceptual model, outline briefly the theoretical framework, examine a number of methodological issues, briefly mention the delimitations of the study, outline our research strategy, and conclude with the value of the inquiry. The research problem is situated in the reported low productivity and uncompetitiveness of small Jamaican firms cited by Gordon, 2009, and by the World Economic Forum, 2010. The purpose of the study, therefore, is to identify the relationships between the behaviors of owner-managers and employees on organizational ambidexterity and on firm performance. It will examine the relationship between firm performance in Jamaican SMEs, especially the owner-manager behavior and the employee behaviors. A number of research questions related to this study. What is the relationship between firm performance and organizational ambidexterity in Jamaican small firms? Secondly, how does the balancing of exploitation and exploration, which I'll get into later, activities in small Jamaican firms impact their long-run performance? Thirdly, what behaviors at the individual levels in organizations, namely, owner-managers and employees, impact organizational ambidexterity and hence firm performance for small firms, and how does one measure this optimum balance? The literature review, which I've only done a preliminary literature review so far, the seminal work in the literature is by Lawrence and Lorsch, 1967, who indicate that high-performance firms are characterized with the twin antagonistic capabilities of being highly differentiated as well as being well integrated in their internal subsystems. The term ambidexterity came into the literature from Duncan in 1976, who indicated that for firms to be successful, they need to be able to exploit and explore simultaneously. Abernathy in 1978 and Hayes and Abernathy interestingly pointed out that firms that focus on efficiency and productivity gains alone will suffer decline. In other words, if you're concentrating on exploitation activities alone, you will suffer decline, suggesting that the firm's ability to compete over the long run is rooted not only in its ability to improve efficiency, but in its capability of doing both efficient and innovative activities simultaneously. Marsh, in 1991, indicated that finding that appropriate balance between exploitation and exploration is a primary factor for system survival and prosperity, and would explain or would help to explain why some firms falter and decline. Now, the term ambidexterity, organizational ambidexterity, sort of went out of the literature and came back full force probably in the past 5 years. And so it appears as a description of disruptive and evolutionary innovation, as from Christensen's S-curve. What do you? Oh, that S-curve on the board there. Um, it appears also in the literature referencing Porter's low-cost versus differentiation strategies. In literature, speaking to alignment and adaptation, differentiation and integration, as we mentioned earlier from Lawrence and Larsh, and exploitation and exploration. Now, what is exploration and exploitation? Exploitation references your routinized operational activities that you conduct on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to exploration, which speak to an ability to sense what is going to be happening in the future and putting activities in place today to continue, for the firm to continue to grow, to develop new products, and to develop new capabilities. The literature, however, also mentions a number of what I would call similar concepts, one of them being continuous innovation. And the concept of continuous innovation is used by Bohr, Kuhn, and Gerstein as an alternative to ambidexterity. And it speaks to the ongoing interaction between operations, incremental improvement, learning, and radical innovation. It indicates that if one is able to do both operational effectiveness activities and strategic flexible activities, then by that combination, one can achieve excellence in exploitation and exploration. And the literature by Bohr et al. I have summarized as the 8 C's. They speak to context, communities of practice, coordination, capacity, culture, collaboration, competence. And there's another C there that I've apparently dropped off, as their framework for continuous innovation. The literature also speaks to organizational flexibility as an alternative term. And this speaks to the rate and intensity at which firms adapt to their changing environmental conditions. Another term that is in the literature similar to organizational ambidexterity is strategic flexibility. And that also speaks to environmental response and indicate that if there's a pre-existing organizational slack, then one is better able to respond strategically to changing environments. The features of strategic flexibility include adaptability, agility, liquidity, hedging, malleability, robustness, versatility, and so on. And so the preliminary literature assessment indicates that there are a number of these similar terms that are bouncing about that could explain agility, flexibility of the firm. But I've settled on organizational ambidexterity in that it comes with a richer set of literature. It treats both with adaptation and alignment, and it offers a better fit for what I intend to do from the contextual aspect of the firm. Recently, Simsek, Heavey, Suda, and Viega created a typology of organizational ambidexterity using 4 broad categories based on their look back at the literature. And I'll just quickly go through that. They identified a typology based on a 2x2 matrix, one axis being the structural dimension and the other axis being the temporal dimension, and identified on the temporal dimension whether the firm or the units of the firm or the firm in association with other firms are carrying out ambidexterity simultaneously or in a sequential manner on one dimension, and also on the structural dimension whether it is being done independently within the firm or within the same business unit, or whether it is doing interdependently across business units or across small firms. And the 4 typings are harmonic for OA, organizational ambidexterity, that is being done simultaneously within a same unit. Cyclical, speaking to exploitation and exploration activities that are being done sequentially, one after the other, a long period of exploitation followed by period of explorative activity, then followed by exploitative activities.